Puffer jackets are dying, and nobody saw it coming. Sales data from late 2025 shows overshirts, the shirt-jacket hybrid you've probably never heard of, are surging, while puffer searches are quietly declining. Fashion insiders are calling it the biggest winter outerwear shift in a decade. So, what exactly is an overshirt? Why are people abandoning their North Face puffers? And should you actually care? Stay with me, because this trend reveals something bigger about how fashion actually works. First, let's define what an overshirt even is, because if you're not paying attention to fashion trends, you've probably never heard this term. An overshirt is exactly what it sounds like, a shirt designed to be worn over other shirts. It's thicker than a regular button-up, but lighter than a jacket. Think flannel shirt meets utility jacket. It's structured enough to layer over a t-shirt or hoodie, but casual enough that it doesn't look formal. The key features: button front closure, chest pockets, relaxed fit, sturdy fabric like denim, flannel, or heavyweight cotton. It sits somewhere between a shirt and a light jacket, hence the name. Brands call them overshirts, shackets, or shirt jackets. The fashion industry has settled on overshirt for 2026, probably because it sounds more intentional than shacket. And here's the data. Men's casual overshirts saw rapid growth in search volumes and sales throughout 2025. Fashion trend reports for autumn-winter 2025-2026 emphasize overshirts as bridging the gap between shirt and jacket, with a focus on versatility and layering. Meanwhile, searches for puffer jackets followed their usual seasonal pattern, peaking in December and January, but the resurgence in fall 2025 was weaker than expected. The pattern is clear. Puffers are still functional, but they're losing their cultural relevance. So, what changed? Why are people suddenly choosing a shirt-jacket hybrid over the proven warmth of a puffer? Puffer jackets are losing ground for one simple reason: overexposure. When a trend is everywhere, people get tired of it. Puffer jackets hit peak saturation around 2020-2023. Everyone from luxury brands like Moncler to fast fashion retailers flooded the market. You couldn't walk down a city street in winter without seeing a dozen identical black puffers. And that's the problem. When everyone owns the same jacket, it stops feeling special. It becomes background noise. Fashion thrives on distinction, and puffers lost theirs. There's also a practical issue. Puffer jackets are bulky. They're hard to pack. They take up space in your closet. And unless you're in sub-zero temperatures, they're often too warm. You overheat indoors, you're too cold outdoors without layering underneath, and you end up carrying the jacket around half the time. Then there's the aesthetic problem. Puffer jackets, by design, add visual bulk. They make everyone look slightly inflated. And while that worked during the oversized fashion era of 2020-2023, fashion is shifting toward more tailored, refined silhouettes in 2026. Fashion editors are openly saying they're moving away from puffers. One prominent fashion director said he wanted to rethink how to dress for the drop in temperature and challenged himself to explore alternatives. Translation: puffers are boring. But here's where it gets interesting. The decline isn't about warmth or function. Puffer jackets still work. They're still warm. The problem is cultural. They stopped being interesting. And in fashion, that's a death sentence. The data backs this up. While puffer jackets aren't disappearing, their cultural momentum is slowing. They're transitioning from trend to basic utility item, which is fashion's way of saying they're no longer exciting. So what makes overshirts different? Why are they suddenly the thing? First, versatility. An overshirt works in a way puffer jackets can't. You can wear it over a t-shirt in early fall, layer it under a coat in deep winter, wear it alone on mild days, throw it over a hoodie for a casual look. It adapts. A puffer jacket? You wear it or you don't. There's no in between. Second, it's not purely functional. Fashion in 2026 is moving away from the idea that outerwear exists only to keep you warm. People want pieces that add character to an outfit, not just block the cold. Overshirts do both. They keep you warm enough for moderate temperatures while looking intentional. Third, the fit. Overshirts are relaxed but structured. They're roomy without being baggy. They layer without adding bulk. And because they're button front, you can adjust how you wear them. Fully buttoned for a cleaner look, or open over a hoodie for a more casual vibe. Fourth, fabric innovation. High-end brands like Loro Piana and Stone Island are making overshirts from premium materials, suede, innovative technical fabrics, recycled textiles. Meanwhile, accessible brands are using denim, flannel, and heavyweight cotton that feels substantial without being heavy. The fashion industry loves overshirts because they fit into the quiet luxury and elevated basics trends dominating 2026. They're not flashy, they're not logo heavy, they're just well-made, functional pieces that look intentional. And here's the kicker: overshirts photograph well. In an era where people curate their style for Instagram and TikTok, overshirts create visual interest without looking like you're trying too hard. They're the kind of piece that stylists use to make an outfit look effortlessly cool. But there's a bigger shift happening here. The rise of overshirts isn't just about the garment itself, it's about how people are approaching outerwear entirely. Think about how people dressed in the 2010s. You'd wear a t-shirt, maybe a hoodie, and then throw on a coat when you went outside. Your outerwear was one layer, and it needed to do all the work. Now, people are layering multiple pieces. Overshirt over a hoodie, hoodie under a coat, scarf over everything. The outfit is modular. You adjust based on temperature, activity, and aesthetic. This is partly practical. Climate is unpredictable, and layering lets you adapt without committing to a single heavy jacket. But it's also cultural. Layering signals effort. It shows you understand how to put an outfit together. It's the difference between "I threw on a coat" and "I styled a look." Overshirts are perfectly designed for this. They're thin enough to layer under a coat, but substantial enough to stand alone. They add texture and structure to an outfit without overwhelming it. And because they're not purely outerwear, they work indoors too. Fashion trend reports specifically highlight overshirts' ability to layer over t-shirts, under jackets, or as a standalone piece. That flexibility is why they're surging. Meanwhile, puffer jackets are one-dimensional. You wear them or you don't. There's no in-between. And in a layering-obsessed fashion landscape, that's a disadvantage. The shift toward layering also reflects something deeper. People want control over their comfort. Instead of one heavy coat that might be too warm or too cold, they want pieces they can add or remove. Overshirts fit that mindset perfectly. Let's talk about price. Because overshirts aren't necessarily cheaper than puffer jackets, but the value proposition is different. A decent puffer jacket costs anywhere from $100 to $1,500 depending on brand. North Face, Patagonia, and Columbia sit around $150 to $300. Luxury brands like Moncler can hit $1,000 plus. And for that price, you get one piece of outerwear that works for one season and one function: staying warm. Overshirts range from $50 for fast fashion to $800 plus for luxury versions. But here's the difference: you'll actually wear an overshirt multiple times a week across multiple seasons. It's not just winter outerwear, it's a year-round layering piece. A $150 flannel overshirt from a mid-tier brand gets worn in September, October, November, layered under a coat in December and January, then comes back out in February and March. That's 6 months of regular use. A puffer jacket? Maybe 3 months if you're lucky. And because overshirts aren't purely functional, they don't date the same way technical outerwear does. A well-made overshirt in denim or wool will look current for years. A puffer jacket? Silhouettes and puff patterns change. Last year's oversized puffer suddenly looks off when slim puffers trend. There's also the replacement cycle. Puffer jackets wear out. The filling flattens, zippers break, fabric tears. You're replacing them every few years. A quality overshirt, if cared for properly, lasts indefinitely. The fashion industry knows this. That's why brands are pushing overshirts as an investment piece, not a trend. They're positioning them as wardrobe staples, not seasonal buys. And when you look at cost per wear, overshirts often come out ahead. So here's the real question. Should you actually care about this trend? If you live somewhere with brutal winters, think Chicago, Minnesota, Scandinavia, overshirts alone won't cut it. You still need serious insulation. But that doesn't mean overshirts are irrelevant. You can layer one under a wool coat or technical shell and get the best of both worlds. If you live in a mild or moderate climate, overshirts are a game changer. Cities like New York, London, Seattle, San Francisco, places where winter is cold but not Arctic, overshirts handle 70% of your outerwear needs. If you care about style, overshirts are worth paying attention to. They're one of those rare trends that's both functional and fashionable. You're not sacrificing warmth for aesthetics or vice versa. But here's the truth. Most people don't think about fashion this way. They buy a coat that works and they wear it for 5 years. And that's fine. Puffer jackets aren't going extinct. They're just becoming less culturally dominant. The real shift is this. Puffer jackets are transitioning from trend to utility. They're becoming the fashion equivalent of a windbreaker, something you own because it works, not because it's exciting. Overshirts, meanwhile, are having their moment as the new it layering piece. And if you're wondering whether to jump on the trend, ask yourself, do you value versatility over maximum warmth? Do you layer your outfits? Do you want something that works across multiple seasons? If yes, an overshirt makes sense. If you just need something warm for winter, stick with the puffer. Thanks for watching. If you learned something about how fashion actually works, drop a comment. If you have suggestions for trends we should investigate, let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay ahead of the curve.